Hey, everybody, and welcome to the second episode in my Voices of Disruption campaign on Frank About Health. Today, the episode was titled Disrupting Anemia Through Nutritional Awareness. This is still going to be a nutritional awareness program. However, there was another kind of disruption today, and that is my guest, the chef in residence here in my family's household, is actually not feeling well. I don't know if it was work related or stress related. However, we decided we're going to do what we can when there's disruption. How do we make this into an opportunity? Well, first of all, he was on the show back in July when we talked about a Mediterranean salad for those suffering from dementia. Then he was on an episode with Siobhan Laurice of the Expansion Room with me, where he created almond encrusted salmon for those dealing with mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and other kinds of issues affecting the brain. Now, I will go into iron deficiency anemia and I will show the recipe of what we were going to show. But because Siobhan Laurice is actually going to be my next guest, we're going to do a little segue. I'll talk about the recipe, and then you'll get to see it prepared next week when Siobhan is on the show. So hopefully she can go home and prepare it as well because she loves Joey's cooking. I do too. Now, that all being said, part of this campaign is awareness of the existing documentary that's on YouTube, Being Frank for a Healthy Future. And as Dr. Marshall Runge, it's Runge, not Runge, has indicated when he was on my show back in April and May, not only do we have disruption with technology and medicines and vaccines and whatever, but we have social disruption, especially with the government shutdown and other kinds of things that are really frightening because we have no idea what's going to happen in 2026. So this documentary pretty much shows the narrative about what Frank About Health is doing, but the purpose of this campaign is to bring disruptive voices so that we have solutions prepared for when other changes occur. And therefore, for that reason, the final segment of the show will be promoting that documentary with my fellow engineer, Jessica Sarivan, who will join us at the final segment and pretty much segue us out until next week when you all get to see the iron-rich Mediterranean bowl recipe that I will discuss later on in the show. So let me outline first my disclaimer. These are food products that are being used as nutritional medicine. This is an alternative way of treating ailments that might actually be side effects of another chronic condition. In this case, my father, dealing with recurring prostate cancer, having taken medications for it, having become hydrated with electrolyte flavored water, having dealt with special meals that Joey prepares for his dementia side effects, his iron deficiency anemia, which he was just diagnosed with a couple weeks ago, as well as all of us dealing with the stress, the anxiety, some depression. So a lot of the cooking that Joey does is medicinal, and therefore I want to share it with all of you. So Joey is a disruptor, but in a good way. He's taking the conditions that we are faced with and coming up with his alternatives. So I'll pay tribute in the second segment to the last time he was on this show. I'll actually show that scene where he's preparing the Mediterranean bowl. I'm sorry, the Mediterranean salad. In the third segment, I will share what we did to prepare the almond crusted salmon. So you get to see a nice hunger pang by the end of this show, and you'll have yourself some dinner recipes to play with if you're interested. And then we'll close out the third segment talking about that special recipe that you'll see next week. And then we'll close out the show talking about a healthy future. All right, that's it. The disclaimer is that these are not the views of talkradio.nyc or of this show, but rather they are solutions that we are providing for those out there looking for solutions for ongoing crisis with your mental health, neurological health, as well as other kinds of health issues you might be facing. All right, what can I talk about first? Well, I retitled the episode for the purposes of the way we've had to, at the last minute, repurpose things. So let's call it Food as medicine. Jose Dennis and his healing recipes for brain and blood health. And so the power of nutrition in cognitive and emotional context, and I'd like to thank ChatGPT for helping me outline that, basically shows that there is a continued link between brain function, neurotransmitter balance, and micronutrient sufficiency that is going on with my father. One can consider that if he's a cancer patient, then all you do is focus on the cancer, ways of keeping it contained, ways of doing what you can to make sure he's having as much energy or engagement as possible. But we literally are all connected. If you have one condition that is ruling you, something else grows from it. I could say personally, because of all the stress that I've been under, I have an ongoing osteoarthritic knee that I'm now in physical therapy for. And the physical therapist has said, you don't need surgery. You just need to relax because they could see that the nodes where my pain was coming from were all stress induced through my nervous system. That was a piece of knowledge that I took away for the first time. I've had that knee injury for over 30 years when I had to have left knee arthroscopy back in 1994. But never did I realize that even though they said I'd have a knee replacement, I still have my original knee, but I'm suffering a side effect that I never anticipated. And yet the doctor was willing to operate on it, and I was willing to say no. Again, always fight for a better solution whenever you can see one. All right, so the lesson learned there is when it comes to your health, aside from my continued dialogue about advocating for yourself, always look to other solutions that maybe food is involved, exercise is involved, water is involved, or other alternative treatments. That way, you can really be your own freedom fighter and hopefully save on a lot of money, especially when it comes to the increasing premiums and deductibles and other kinds of things that are going to be faced in 2026. So think of what Frank About Health is doing for the remaining 10 or 11 weeks of this particular season as preparing you nutritionally, economically, financially, and politically. Politically meaning the right doctors as well as the right advocates, not the right politicians. That's a different story. It's the right people who are going to really see that you are trying to live the best quality of life possible. Now, the other thing that ChatGPT had indicated is Joey's caregiving philosophy because it has the transcripts from the shows that he's been on. Joey shares his caregiving philosophy about how menu, design, texture, and color can stimulate memory and mood. That in itself also increases your appetite. Before we talk about medication, let's remember that every meal can be medicine. If you need medication afterwards, that's understood. I mean, we all take vitamins. I don't consider that medication, but I'm a proponent of vitamins. I'm a proponent of vaccines. So you have all the preventative stuff and the painkiller stuff, or any kind of solutions that help you with high cholesterol and things like that. But always start with food first. And if you can maintain a metabolism based on food, only supplement with medicines when needed. I actually just described what it said the goal is. Food is both prevention and therapy. That's what we want to do. We want to make food the ultimate goal and then everything else subsequent. So, as I was saying earlier, I can't wait to show you these recipes because, if anything, I have been eating them more regularly and I've been living on a very economic shopping budget with Costco in particular, where you get these ingredients. There are a lot of them are natural ingredients. You buy them in bulk and you're able to have a 3 month supply of all the nutritious foods that you can have. If you're going to go and do an inventory with your doctor or even with your family about what are the main things that are bothering you, is it dementia? Is it high cholesterol? Is it something to do with your kidneys, kidney stones? Is it for women? Is it your cycle? Is it premenstrual syndrome? Any kinds of things like that. Try to come up with a roadmap as to what are the food items that can help with that. A lot of YouTube videos out there. In fact, I was thinking of showing a YouTube video from a doctor that broke down the different types of anemia, hemolytic and non-hemolytic, which I can tell you myself because I don't have any right to go and take some doctor that I haven't yet met or spoken to and have him on Frank About Health without his awareness. I wouldn't want to do that. That's my own self-disclaimer. I want to respect his own integrity and what he is doing on YouTube. But I can say that it was a learning episode for me at the same time because how else can I be able to discuss about how anemia can impact you in at least two different ways and what you should avoid in order not to convolute the other because things can actually get worse if you're having too much iron. We don't need that either. We just want you to be balanced. A lot of people say a lot of omega-3s, a lot of proteins, whether they are salmon for the brain, whether it is chicken, whether it's even beef. Now, I don't do much beef. I do turkey burgers, turkey sausage, turkey bacon, stuff like that. However, from what I've learned about iron deficiency, I might be doing more beef in the future. So again, we all hear chunks of information from doctors and the media as to what you should and shouldn't do based on weight control or pre-diabetes or rather prevention of diabetes. But when it comes to iron, iron is the energy level that keeps us focused even as you know, as we age through life. You remember Deepak Sani was on the show months ago and talked about how he wants to be a centenarian. Well, one of the ways to guarantee that is make sure your diet fits the goal. So I've started to undertake having certain beef products again. And the other thing that I was doing in order to keep my cholesterol down is I was having eggs without the yolk. So egg whites, egg white omelets, egg white, scrambled egg whites. But I learned that the sulfur in the yolk is definitely good for iron as well. So just the other day, I had my first ever in 20 years, I wouldn't say ever, my first in 20 years full egg omelet, vegetarian style. At least the vegetables were in there, but it had the yolk enmeshed in it. It tasted different, tasted just like chicken after all. That's where eggs come from. But the thing is that you have one doctor telling you that it's not good for your cholesterol, but another one saying it's good for increasing your iron and your strength and your energy levels. After what I've been seeing with my father, I'm now back to eating regular eggs. Again, we are all told many things by our PCP, our nutritionist, or any other kind of specialist we're dealing with. But remember, at the end of the day, you and your brain are the only one that make the true decision. So hopefully when we come back from our first break, I'll start the next segment with Joey's first appearance on Frank About Health in July. And then we will just recap some of the main points that he spoke about. And, stay tuned right here on talkradio.nyc and on our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. And we'll be back in a few.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, welcome to Joey's Kitchen. I have a patient that has a slight dementia, and we are going to prepare today a salad for him that will benefit his brain and function. We're going to start with the garbanzo beans. As you see here, they are rich in nutrients like folate, iron, magnesium, and zinc. Folate aids in brain development and cognitive function. Magnesium supports nerve function. Then we have the tomatoes, which are packed with lycopene, an antioxidant that protects brain cells from damage, reduces inflammation, and enhances communication between neurons, potentially improving memory, learning, and mood. Then we have the cucumber, which is high in water content, helping with hydration, which is important for overall health and brain function. Then we have our onions, which contain flavonoids, which are plant compounds that can improve blood flow to the brain, potentially boosting focus and concentration, and may lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Then we have our cilantro, which contains antioxidants and flavonoids that may reduce brain inflammation, improve memory, and ease anxiety symptoms. And with that, we have garlic for flavor. We have oregano, salt and pepper for flavor. Okay, so now we're gonna put our salad together. I'm gonna start with seasoning our oil. With half of lemon that I pressed in to the juice from. And I combine them, make sure they coagulate with each other. Now we add our ingredients. I'm going to add the tomato, the cucumber, the onions, and the chickpeas. And we're going to combine the seasoning, the oil seasoning, to the vegetables. Now we will add the diced garlic. I took 4 garlic cloves and I diced them up finely. And then I'm going to add my cilantro. Some oregano. About a half teaspoon of salt. And about a quarter teaspoon of pepper. Mix all of the ingredients. Yeah. Spoon to taste. Would you like to try some, Mr. Harrison?
Not at this time.
It's delicious. So now I allow this to rest until my patient is ready to eat. And that way all the flavors combine and can mesh with each other, and he'll have a delicious salad for this evening.
Also, we're about to show the finished product after we finish this recording, but I did want to ask you, was there a special ingredient of all that you presented that you felt would have the most impact on my father's brain?
The cilantro, which gives it a lot of flavor.
Okay. We'll talk more in just... I may have said on that episode, not at this time, but now my mouth is drooling with hunger. I definitely want some right now. Well, either way, we'll talk about more recipes going forward. I'm going to be hungry by the time the show ends. It wouldn't be surprising if I have all 3 meals in one shot. No, but either way, that was an interesting moment because it was all about my father's appearance of, oh, wow, the engineer just got me hungrier by saying that she ate dinner. Now I want dessert at the same time. Well, either way, those are hunger pangs, but if they're not nutritious, the best is to defer until you figure out what you deal with your hunger pangs on that also helps improve either your brain or other aspects of your health, neurological or mental. That all being said, I just want to recap some of what he said in the video, which is that meals that enhance cognition and support vascular and neuronal health would be examples of that Mediterranean salad, but there were some other ones also. And the cilantro was used as an exception for my father's brain because not only is it adding flavor, which entices to have seconds, which is what you needed to do in my father's case, because the dementia is not Alzheimer's, thankfully, but it is making you forget short-term events like if you just ate. And therefore, you could have a small sample and think you're too full right away, which was going on with my father. But then with the mix of the right foods and electrolyte water, I was managing with Joey's assistance to get him to take seconds and thirds. So other examples of foods that would have substituted for the same goal would be a brain bowl, an omega-3 brain bowl recipe consisted of salmon, olive oil, leafy greens, and walnuts. A memory stew, lentils, turmeric, garlic, onions, anti-inflammatory and heart-friendly, as well as a hydration smoothie, spinach, chia seeds, blueberries for antioxidants and blood flow. The tie-in here is that Joey explains how polyphenols and antioxidants slow cognitive decline. And the goal is to show caregivers, of which he's one, simple and affordable ways to feed the brain. that was definitely the beginning of what I was already believing would be an eventual nutrition program, but that's still down the road. We have to really see what happens in 2026 because it's going to be a cost issue if there is going to be one. Although I can say it's just part for the course of this special 12-week episode of Voices of Disruption because he's an example of someone who's trying to disrupt medicine as the basis of a cure or as the basis of regulating your health and take the food as the go-to, which is what if we all were doing at younger years, we would already have a pattern of being able to keep ourselves as healthy as possible, even when crisis with your health do occur, especially in your later years. Overall, I am interested in how my father's health, which began as a cancer journey, has now triple pronged into a neurological, mental, and anemia journey. And the irony is that the cancer itself is contained, but the side effects are what are debilitating. It's debilitating for the people around him as well as for himself. And therefore, what the secret, which doctors don't say, because their big goal is prescription of medicine or hospice care or whatever else might be needed for the patient. But quality of life management is the focus that is best done out of hospice care because hospice means making you comfortable until you transition. We're not looking at that, especially if the patient is not ready to transition, right? So the secret in maintaining quality of life is food. More on that when we get back from our second break. And I will start the third segment with the other recipe that we created for the expansion room. All right, we'll be back in a few. See you soon.
Misalignment within your sales team or with the client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Have you ever wondered what truly lies beneath the calm? I'm Jacinta Yang. Join me every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Talk Radio NYC as we explore healing, self-discovery, and the space where science meets spirits to help you find peace in a busy world. Take a deep breath and tune in to Beneath the Calm, where every conversations guide you back to the calm within.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc, now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hey everybody, we're back in Joey's kitchen so that we can look at almond-crusted salmon with broccoli, explain how it helps those with mental issues such as depression and anxiety, as well as those with providing brain and gut benefits. Now, the broccoli in particular has a chemical known as sulforaphane, which is very beneficial for the gut-brain axis, but it also helps prevent inflammation in the brain, especially when infused with olive oil. As you'll see here are the ingredients, which are the salmon with the almond-encrusted coating, which also includes breadcrumbs. You'll see the broccoli here mixed with olive oil. You'll also see that this is the mix that he put together in order to create the crust foundation for the salmon. The other aspect is he used garlic, salt, and pepper, but I'm going to let him now go into the nutritional aspects of why he prepared it, especially his secret in mixing the broccoli with the salmon in the baking pan. So hey Joey, welcome back.
Hello. Now I'm gonna mix in some olive oil to the broccoli, add some salt and pepper to it, add the crushed garlic that I have on the side in order to accompany the salmon in the oven so that it could be a delicious meal. It's all beneficial for brain health and it's very nutritious for the body. So here we go. It's about a tablespoon of olive oil. Into that, we add about a half or an eighth teaspoon of salt. About a pinch of pepper along with the garlic. Mix it in well. The almond crust I had prepared earlier, which has breadcrumbs, olive oil, salt, pepper, a little rosemary, and now I will place this into an oven at 375 degrees for at least 14 minutes.
Awesome. And I see you prepared the broccoli with the salmon. There was a reason behind that. I think you and I were discussing about how it avoids the broccoli from being soft cooked separately, and it releases the what do they call that again? Sulforaphane properties to help in the anti-inflammation properties, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. I think more than anything, I want to hear a lot of your understanding of these ingredients in the finished product. So we will wait for the next 14 minutes to go by and then show it and have you discussing all the benefits for the mental health and nervous and central nervous system.
Great.
All right. Thanks again, Joey. If you want to see the results, you have to actually look at that episode dated August 12th, 2025 on the expansion room, because that was part of Siobhan's show. And for that reason alone, I will read out what some of the nutritional benefits are, especially for those suffering from mental illness. Now, foods that stabilize the mood and mental health are basically, they're there to regulate serotonin, cortisol levels, and sleep cycles. When you are under heavy levels of stress and you're not eating the right foods, processed foods, junk foods, things that really just help increase your sugar levels, among other things, you're not using your hormones in your brain properly. That helps create depression, that helps increase anxiety, that helps to also prevent sleep. And if you're not going and taking your 8 glasses of water a day, you're not flushing out the excess chemicals that you're ingesting with the improper foods, nor are you able to clean out your system that is having toxins in the blood as a result of overuse of the cortisol and any other kind of stress-related hormones. So in this case, you look at food as a cleaning mechanism, cleaning your entire internal system, not just your regular plumbing. So other things to consider are that when you are, the phrase "you are what you eat," if you're depressed, you're more than likely going to have a hot fudge sundae. But if you're actually energized and on a health kick, you're going to go and get yourself the almond encrusted salmon, or you're going to get the Mediterranean salad, or you're going to get a smoothie with kale in it, as well as your blueberries and stuff. Sometimes what you eat is a reflection of what you're trying to connect to. Finding that light at the end of the dark tunnel you might be in, or you're trying to connect to a relief from the pain that you're feeling. And it's unfortunate that most people do the latter. So hopefully from the episode or from the video I've just shown, as well as this episode of Frank About Health, you'll start even using AI to come up with specific targeted recipes that can help you with your particular clinical problem, whether it's neurological or whether it's emotional. So, three recipes that came up were serotonin support bowl, which is oats, bananas, pumpkin seeds, and yogurt. It's rich in tryptophan, which allows you to sleep, by the way, and probiotics. Calm soup, miso broth with tofu, spinach, and seaweed, promotes the gut brain harmony. As we mentioned on the expansion room, Shirvan talked about the gut brain axis. There is so much truth to that. And by the way, one takeaway that I took from that episode is not only was it helping with your mental health, but it was helping you be sharper with your intuitive skills. Excuse me, intuitive shield and skills, because it is your intuition that guides you into making the right choices for your mental health. Now, the other thing is it does recommend that if you're going to snack, take dark chocolate and almonds. Now, there is a percentage of what they call cacao, which is like 90% and above. The darker, the better, because what it does is it releases magnesium into the bloodstream and flavonoids for stress reduction, and the magnesium helps you sleep better. So if you're going to really go on chocolate, go on dark chocolate. The darker, the better. The goal there is to bridge with mental health science with culinary comfort. Joey gave practical tips on that for mood boosting meal prep. Now, overall, I think we still got time. Well, that's right, because since I did not show you the output of that almond encrusted salmon recipe, it's giving me time to talk about the recipe that we were going to show you today. I'm going to flip the screen and show the ingredients and show the recipe so that if you're really that hungry after the first two videos I've shown you, you'll prepare it yourself for tonight's dinner. But it's for those people that are suffering from iron deficiency and therefore heavy doses of anemia that keep you sleeping most of the day, not engaging with anything from music to conversations on the phone to just staring at the TV, even if it's not on. So this is the kind of thing you want to avoid, especially when you're recovering from any kind of chronic illness. So I want to then, after I describe the recipe and talk a little bit about iron deficient anemia, I then want to welcome in our engineer to join us as we go into the next commercial break and then open up with a discussion of the documentary that we worked on all last year. All right, so right now I will switch the screen to talk about iron deficient anemia. Oh, wait a minute. Did something wrong. Over here, I have a recipe for iron-rich Mediterranean bowl for those dealing with iron deficient anemia. Here is an AI generated picture of the recipe that Joey was going to prepare for all of you, and which he will do on next week's episode. But meanwhile, it breaks it down into the ingredients. Here's the iron-rich Mediterranean bowl recipe, nourishing, colorful, and ideal for supporting those with iron deficiency anemia. The ingredients: 1 cup cooked quinoa, which has the iron and protein, 2 cups baby spinach or kale, non-hemolytic iron plus vitamin C, 1 cup cooked lentils or chickpeas, which provides the iron and fiber. The toppings include half a cup of cherry tomatoes, half a cup of diced cucumber, half a cup of black or Kalamata olives, half roasted red pepper sliced, 1/2 small avocado, which is an optional healthy fat. The protein is 4 ounces grilled salmon or tofu, which the meat provides hemolytic iron, which is the type of iron you need first and foremost. Don't ever take non-hemolytic iron recipes and indulge in them and then bring meat on occasion because that'll actually have the reverse effect. You need to have a mix of hemolytic, which is meat-based iron, and non-hemolytic, which is vegetable or plant-based iron, together, or if you're going to go on one or the other, stick with the meat-based iron. Dressing, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, juice of half a lemon, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1 teaspoon of honey or maple syrup, salt and pepper to taste. And then it outlines the preparation steps. All of this was just by me asking ChatGPT to create the recipe. And of course, you can even ask it to create the supplies that you can go and, like I said earlier in the show, go to Costco to save your money on your food budget. Especially when you're dealing with food as your medicine, you need to have sort of like a food budget for medical purposes, separate from your regular food budget that you have for your family or colleagues or whomever. All right. Now, to get the full description on that, stay tuned next week when I have Siobhan Larice, where we're going to actually talk about the very show that she was going to do with Linda Marsanico on the A Train to Sedona. But those of you who saw that show saw that I was the guest as I was doing what I could to sign her off in style, knowing that she may come back, but more importantly, she's still very much a part of the talkradio.nyc family. And Siobhan and I are going to pay tribute to her next week. And then the week after, we're going to have Deepak Sani, who was one of her guests, and we're going to do the same thing in terms of talking about his practice and his goal to still become a centenarian eventually. I'm hoping that this ties in to both shows because at the end of the day, part of being a centenarian or part of maintaining your mental or spiritual health is eating the right foods. And I can't wait to show the iron-rich Mediterranean bowl next week as part of that discussion as well. So not having it today actually serves the purpose of discussing it and showing it next week. All right. I think we're ready for our final break now. Jesse, I'm not going to flip the screen or anything. I guess once the commercial comes in, you come in, and when the final segment of this episode comes in, let's talk about being frank for a healthy future. Okay, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few. On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This has been an interesting week for me here on talkradio.nyc. As I said earlier, I spent yesterday with Linda Marsanico, helping her sign off from 40 episodes of the A Train to Sedona. Simultaneously, here I am doing a preparation for a meal that will be seen next week, but more importantly, recapping the importance of nutrition as a substitute for medicine or in maintaining your quality of life and mental and neurological health. But a lot of that didn't just come happenstance. A lot of it came through a big, broader mission that I have been talking about for the last 4.5 years now since I came back to talkradio.nyc in 2021. But it's because of the fact that while we are all trying to look forward to a healthier future, we are having so many disruptions in the way of obtaining that. But I have here our engineer, Jessica Sarivan, who worked with me and Emily Schulman on creating, I like to consider it a masterpiece. I know you do. That is now sitting on YouTube. It was originally supposed to sit somewhere else, but you know what? The right audience needed to see it, especially in preparation for 2026. So that being said, I want you, Jessica, to kind of recap the journey, but kind of help me explain where it's going now.
Yeah. The documentary itself took about, hang on, I gotta take my headphones off because I'm hearing myself.
You're the engineer. You have to do your job. I'm joking.
I know. But yeah, the documentary itself started as like an offhanded kind of comment, like, I want to make a documentary. We went to college, we can help with that. And then we wound up having legitimate conversations about it. There was a live video shoot out in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There were several sleepless nights spent editing to get it right.
Yep.
But now it's out. And like from here, it's just going to be like a cornerstone to give Frank About Health another push forward into whatever he's planning to do next.
Right. But it's also a push for talkradio.nyc. I mean, if you remember, I had originally wrote to Sam indicating that I wanted to do an end of year retrospective, like a 2-hour episode with you narrating it. It was that small. And then ironically, both Joey, our resident nutritionist, and I had gone to our annual meeting at Hilton in Las Vegas, and they had seen several episodes, including the one that we did together on DID. And they thought, wow, maybe you can do a documentary and show our people, our management. And I think there I was already talking with you and Sam and Emily about a 2-hour recap. They brought up documentary. Then they also provided me with a nice sum of money to produce it, with promises of how to market it. It blew my mind, to say the least. But obviously, when I came back and discussed that, you and Emily talking about we went to school for this, and now there's an actual need for it, it became like nirvana.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then Hilton basically said, we can't align ourselves with you.
Well, they didn't say it that way. It was pretty much the presidential election that changed their behavior.
Yeah.
You know, what I guess the lesson learned, though, is healthcare is not just about healthcare.
Yeah.
It's a social issue. And social issues in this current administration continue to be debated on.
Yeah.
You know, so there's the question, do we live in a country or do we live among citizens? They used to unite. That doesn't seem to be the case right now. But again, this is not a political show. It's just that, okay, well, if I have to tailor make the end product, which we all agreed was the best it could be, given who we thought the audience was going to be, now how do you retool it to the right audience that needs to see it, which is mainly the individuals that need direction, that need advice, that need support, that need, hell, recipes, you know, or whatever else that we can provide. And then everyone who knows Dr. Marshall Runge comes out with a book, Runge comes out with a book called The Great Healthcare Disruption. But in it, it was written in 2024, around the time we're doing the documentary, talking about the growth of AI, mRNA vaccines, robotic surgery, you know, things that are meant to improve things that research funding was being generated for. And instead, we had a different type of disruption going on. So it helped me use the documentary now as a platform for Frank About Health and talkradio.nyc to stand on so that we can be at least, hopefully, the truth tellers when it comes to one's health and people making their independent choice, but me making sure that the people I have on the show are disruptors that are looking for change and looking to make change. So that's
The
where it's added
documentary.
value in transitioning it, but still there's a road to pass through.
Yeah, even before the documentary, with the DID episode and the I might be misremembering, but was there an ADHD episode you did?
I think we did a recap on the DID show with a doctor who worked for the Veterans Administration,
Yeah,
and she was mentioning ADHD veterans and things like that.
yeah,
Um, I
but
did
like,
notice that my show started to become more clinical, which was
yeah,
perfect for what I was trying to achieve with the documentary and with Hilton. But
what I'm getting at is, even before the documentary came out and this
mhm.
whole Voices of Disruption season started, you have been highlighting things that people didn't want to talk about,
Yes,
like
exactly.
AI in healthcare, dissociative identity disorder, epilepsy, chronic migraine, various different styles of healthcare that aren't necessarily widely practiced, like bee sting therapy
Yes, yes,
with
with
doc.
John Fulbright.
Yeah,
Mm.
but like, you've been an innovator in the healthcare space for as long as I've known you, and I've known you since
I appreciate
2023.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really didn't think I was. I thought I was just here I am frustrated watching what's going on with my family and my own health and saying, "Look, this is what's going on. What are we going to do about it?" And having people like Phyllis and even Sam himself and other people, Mira and Linda and other people on the network, yourself included, the way that you and Emily put together this documentary. Believe it or not, it was in shorter notice than I could have anticipated, even though the editing took longer. But
Yeah,
the problem is that we live in a culture that unfortunately looks at the perception more than the truth.
yeah,
So the frustration that I'm feeling is not that I'm not telling the truth. You notice I issue disclaimers at the beginning of every show. But
mhm,
the thing is that the way that things are looking, I expect in some way to get a backlash. I don't know whom or how or why. So I'm doing all that I can to protect myself, whether it's legally, politically, or even in the healthcare space, because I do not want to put myself in the same situation that late night hosts have recently been in. Or better yet, I don't want to be a target when I'm just trying to provide information and education and advocacy for the viewers.
yeah.
I'm not trying to create a revolution,
What
even
you're
though it would
doing,
be seen that way.
what you're doing, primarily is, sorry to keep fussing with these headphones. What you're doing is putting common knowledge into the minds of people that need it, that wouldn't get it without coughing up some green.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Exactly.
giving knowledge and options and ideas to these people that need it the most,
Mm-hmm.
because lots of people know this stuff, but that's because they can afford to shell out 5, 6, 700 to a grand
Mm-hmm.
every time they go to a doctor. But I just recently lost my medical insurance. Like, I'm
Because of the
completely
big
flying.
beautiful bill, or because
Hmm?
of other reasons?
What's up?
Because of other reasons, personal reasons, or was it because of what's going on with the big beautiful bill?
It's because of the current political climate. They changed how nutritional assistance and Medicaid work. So I have to be in a nice middle ground between too poor to do anything and having enough money to buy my own insurance.
Me, they
And
canceled
I'm
my
not there.
nutrition assistance benefit in February, and I thought it was something else, but you just echoed what's going on. Wow, you know
Yeah.
what? 1 minute till the end of the show, and I know there's another show coming up. So, were you going to show a segment of the documentary, or did you have anything to tell the viewers and listeners how they can go see it?
Go check out Frank's YouTube channel, Frank About Health, and go watch Being Frank for a Healthy Future. My personal preferred segment is the second one. There's a section in there that talks about Retha Gray, Betty White, and there's a bit talking about a tribute to Betty White in the documentary, but the
Yes.
documentary as a whole is a tribute to Retha Gray.
Yes, because she happened to have passed on almost 1 year ago.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, it was December 31st, 2024, 2 years after Betty White died. 2 years to the day.
And I can't believe it's already been a year.
I know. But I can see that we're almost at the end of the show. Either way, everybody, please remember that Frank About Health will continue to be here all the way through the end of this year. I will continue my Voices of Disruption campaign. As I said, next week, Siobhan Laurice, who's on talkradio.nyc with the Expansion Room. The week after that is going to be Deepak Sani, who has his own podcast up in Canada and was a guest on the A Train to Sedona, as well as Frank About Health. He wants to be a centenarian. And then there's going to be some surprises after that, but I will leave them till the end of the month to discuss it. So, that all being said, please stay tuned next Thursday to that iron-rich uh, Mediterranean bowl to help with your anemia. You will get to see the video on that, but you'll also get a chance for me and Siobhan to talk about spirituality and also pay tribute to Linda. And of course, continue to talk about that documentary because it affects all of us. Alrighty. Thank you again, Jesse, for helping with this last segment of the show. And I will, of course, see you on next week on multiple occasions, Monday being one of them. And
Yep.
I thank everybody for listening to this. I hope you're as hungry as I am and take advantage of those recipes that you both had seen demonstrated as well as I outlined for next week. All right, everybody. See you all next week. You take care now. Bye-bye.